Okay, welcome back to eCode 701. Now we move on to lecture 04. Okay, it's about referencing technique. Okay. Okay. First of all, the difference between reference and bibliography. For this module, you are required to do the reference list. So for the reference list, it shows the sources that you really use in your main text. But for the bibliography, it means you list all the sources you have consulted, regardless of whether you actually use it or not, or quoted or mentioned them or not in the main text. So for eCode 701, you are rather required to do the reference list at the end of the long essay. So I repeat, reference list means the sources that you really used and mentioned in the main text of your research essay. And then when you do the reference list, and then there are some abbreviations you must be mindful of, especially these two. ED, small letter ED with the dot, it means the edition of the book. But if we have ED starting with a capital letter, ED, it means that these are the editor or editors of the research book. Okay. And then some tips or hints on basic in-text referencing techniques. You are going to learn more of these skills during the semester. So I will provide some examples here. Work by a single author. So in the main text, you can say, for instance, Berger, 1982, found that, da, 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 and then maybe two articles derive the same finding or they have the same argument. You can mention them together with some linking words. You are now learning how to use linking words to make your writing reader-friendly. So this is an example. Both Berger and van der Berg argue, da da da. Okay, and then maybe you have three sources. They derive the same findings. This is an example. Money-metric poverty worsened in the 1990s before a continuous downward trend took place since 2000. Then brackets, you name the three sources. Woolard, 98, Lowe, 2005, and Libran, 2015. Okay, what if there are two authors in the study? It is the same story, then use the word and. So this is an example. Berger and Yafter, bracket, 2005, found this and that. And then maybe these two people, they co-author more than once, and then you actually have to use both studies. So this is an example. So the two studies by Berger and Yafter, bracket, so they co-author twice, 2005 and 2010, and both studies found X, Y, and Z. Okay, this is another example. The crime rate is too high, having a negative impact on both domestic and foreign investment, as argued by Yu, 2005, Stolz and Woolard, 2008, as well as. You can see I use as well as instead of and because I don't want to use and so many times in the same sentence. So as well as van der Berg and Berger, 2010. So all three studies found the negative impact of crime rate on investment in the country. And then if there are at least three authors, so for the first time you mention this source, you list all the authors. But from the second time onwards, then you use the abbreviation ETO. So this is an example. Real GDP growth rate was not rapid enough to attract many foreign direct investments. So you mention this source for the first time, you have to list all three authors, Arnold, Moore, and Tapscott, 2008. But when you use this source from the second time onwards, just use the abbreviation, but you still have to show the first author. Then the rest, you don't need to show them. Just use the abbreviation ETO. So Arnold et al., still the same study, 2018. On page 15, they pointed out, okay? This is the next example of Bernard. You use it for the first time, so you have to list all the authors. So Bernard, Fisher, Nsumalo, and Sushi, 2017, found that real GDP growth, but when you use it for the second time, you only have to say Bernard et al., 2017, along with another study, U 2015. They both suggest or found X, Y, and Z. Okay. Okay, in case you have to mention a source, but then you don't really know the author, sometimes, especially in news articles on newspaper website, maybe the name of the writer or the author is not clearly mentioned, then you just have to show the first few words of this news article. So this is an example of minimum wages increased too rapidly in the country. And then you don't know the author, so you show the first two names of the news article, poor linkage. I will show you the full source, or I mean the reference list later in one of the forthcoming slides. So keep these words in mind. Poor linkage. This is the first two words of the news article title. And then in case you really have to mention specific page or specific pages of a study, maybe you want to particularly point out that, oh, this study, Berger and Yafter, 2010, on page 15, they really run the regression. Then the econometric analysis on page 15, found X, Y, and Z. Then in this case, you have to show the page or the pages. This is another example, Libran et al. On page 25 to 29 of the 2015 study, they really conduct some descriptive stats, and then the results show Last one, maybe the National Treasury 2017 on these 3 pages, 35 to 37. They talk about the different reasons why this esquisse, I don't know if you have heard of esquisse, this is an economic policy, but then the goals are not achieved due to these reasons. And these reasons are explicitly discussed on these 3 pages. This is why you have to show the pages. So obviously you have to show the year colon and then the relevant pages. Okay. I hope you are now slowly learning the referencing technique. This is the interesting one. Berger as cited in Armstrong. So it actually means you read the Armstrong study, and then the Armstrong study talk about Berger actually, but you actually didn't read the Berger study. Okay, but actually I wouldn't recommend this type of referencing method. Then why don't you just read the Berger study directly? Okay, yeah. So don't cut corners. I would recommend you to really read the Berger study. Okay. Instead of citing the Armstrong study, that Armstrong read the Berger study. Okay, it might create a bit of a negative impression to the examiner who is going to mark your research essay. Maybe you quote the results of your interview, your personal communication or interview with someone. Okay, then this is how you do the referencing. Maybe I interviewed Borat from a personal communication on this date in 2017, and then he argued Okay, and then some other hints to make your writing reader friendly. Okay, for numbers from 0 to 9, just type the whole words actually. There are 9 provinces in South Africa. There are 4 population groups in South Africa. For numbers above 9, use the figures, okay, instead of typing the words. So 350 people took part in the survey, and then you can see these figures, monthly expenditure. So show it in numbers. Some exceptional cases, maybe there are decimals involved, then you must be consistent with the decimals. Let's say this one, 55.78 million. So if you decide to show 2 decimal places, then please be consistent, okay? And then this is another example. You decide to only show 1 decimal place, then be consistent. You can see the consistency here, 41.5% and then 35.9%. And the one thing I need to tell you in advance now is that when you, let's say you review the past empirical studies, you use past tense, then be consistent with the whole chapter 2 in the review of past empirical studies session. Then be consistent, use past tense as well. If you use present tense, it is fine, but then again, be consistent to use present tense for the whole session. And then the other thing I need to tell you in advance now is that if you decided to use past tense to review the past empirical studies in chapter 2, then later in your chapter 4, when you present your own empirical findings, please again be consistent, also use past tense. Okay? Or similarly, if you use present tense to review the past empirical studies findings in chapter 2, then later in the chapter 4, you present your own empirical findings, you must also use present tense. So I repeat, be consistent with the tenses. Either use past tense or use present tense. Okay, now I really move on to the referencing technique in how to do the reference list. Okay, quite self-explanatory. What if you use a textbook or research book? Okay, surname of the author, more, comma, then the initials. Don't type the whole words, just the initial, P dot. And then the year, then the name of the book. Edition, province or the place of the publication, colon, then the name of the publisher. This one I need to emphasize clearly, not the country, hey, not South Africa, China, USA, India, but the place or the city of publication. Next one. two authors. So Duplessis, comma, initial, and Smith, comma, the initials. 2016. Then the name of the book, 5th edition, Cape Town, colon, the publisher, Tutor. Okay. If the book is an edited book, this is how you do the referencing. Just put ed dot capital letter. Okay. Self-explanatory. So I will pause for 10 seconds. Okay. If you only use a chapter from a book, in other words, you don't use all chapters, but only one chapter, then this is how you do the referencing. So this is your honors research essay prescribed textbook, but you use chapter 14 for your research essay. Then Moulton, comma, J, the initial 2001, then the chapter title, chapter 14, referencing rules and formats, followed by the name of the book, How to Succeed in Your Master's and Doctoral Studies. First edition, then the city, Pretoria, colon, Van Schaick Publisher. Then after that colon, you need to show the page numbers of this chapter 14. So after the name of the publisher, colon, then the page range from 228 to 237. Okay. If you use a chapter from an edited book, so let's look at that. So E. Stoltz is the author of chapter 3, How to Cry Beautifully Like Barbie, in this book, which is edited by Berger. So in other words, Berger is the editor of this book. Okay, this is the name of the book, How to Be a Smart Economist Like Harry Potter. Then the first edition, Pretoria, Van Schaick Publisher. Then again, colon, show the pages of this chapter, chapter 3. And then if you understand my explanation for this one, let me pause for 5-10 seconds, see if you can understand the next one, next example, the Van Wyk example. So chapter 6. Van Wyk is the author of chapter 6, but the whole book is edited by Black and Sibert. So you have to show the name of the editors here. And then the pages 125 to 139 for chapter 6. Next one, how to show the information of a working paper. So again, starting with the surname, initial, year, then the name of the working paper. After that, you have to talk about the working paper number. So Stellenbosch Economics Working Paper 105. And then the city, Stellenbosch, colon, Stellenbosch University. The next example, same old story, except that there are 3 authors involved, Janssen, Sibert, and Duplessis. Then economic history of Gauteng, and then this is the working paper number, or MBER working paper number 5582. Then finally, city, colon, name of the publisher. And then for the conference paper, again, starting with the surname, initial, year, the conference paper title, Inequality Trends in the Country. Then after that, you have to talk about that, oh, this is a paper presented at, you have to show the name of the conference, the dates where the conference took place, and then the location, the conference location in Belleville. Okay. What if you use a research report? Then again, surname, initial, year, then the name of the research report. Subjective well-being of the poor, then the research report number, World Bank research report number 88. Then finally, city, Washington, D.C., colon, World Bank is the name of the publisher. Okay, this is the second example. I think it is self-explanatory. Then I move on to journal articles. First of all, the surname and initials, and then the year, then the name of the journal article, employment in the informal sector. Only afterwards, you show the name of the journal, South African Journal of Economics, followed by the volume, 85, then the issue number. Remember, there could be 4 issues, 4 quarterly issues. So this is issue 1, the first issue of the year. Volume 85, issue number 1, colon, then the pages. Okay, happy with that? Sometimes there are special issues, supplementary special issues of the journal, then we call it S1, S2, and so forth. The special issue, the first special issue. So we call it S1. Okay, and then the last example, few more actually, but I think this is, I have to stop here. Postgraduate thesis, again, surname, initial, year, then the name of the thesis. You have to say unpublished thesis, Stellenbosch University.